Kia ora, my name's Stuart Forsyth. I'm a chartered organisational psychologist, and I want to talk briefly about restructuring organisations. This is my introduction to the materials provided by my colleagues, available on the Institute of Organisational Psychology website, and covering ideas and detail that I'm sure you'll find useful if this is something you're considering. I'll use a few examples to illustrate the 5 points I want to make. The first of these points: how critical it is that senior managers are seen to own the human aspects of restructuring. In the 90s, I worked with the distribution arm of a dairy company. I arrived at the lunchroom where the announcements were going to be made about restructuring. The CEO of the business arrived and told the assembled drivers that the company was moving to a contract driver model. They would be losing their jobs. They'd have the opportunity to apply as contractors, and they'd be given support to do that. The manager had to pause a few times while he was making his announcement. He was a ruddy-faced gentleman, but probably a little bit more red in the face than normal. I talked to all of the drivers afterwards, and they all mentioned how they felt it was appropriate that the CEO had made that announcement, but also how they felt that he had connected with the emotional aspect of what was going down on the day. I've trained managers to have these conversations, and that doesn't mean giving them a script to read from on the day. Managers find out through role-playing what it's like to get the news that you're losing your job. I've also been in the firing line. The firm I worked for in the late 90s downsized. There were meetings of partners and managers, and it was fairly clear that our team was going to be smaller as a result. I kept my job, but I did wonder, was I just lucky? It did seem that it was the older male consultants who lost their jobs. The conventional wisdom is that during downsizing, it's the best who get to keep their jobs. But in fact, in those times, you do see some self-serving behaviour. And the suspicion is always that it's the well-connected, it's the charming, it's the people who know how to get things done within the organisation who are likely to keep their jobs. And those who are older or younger, female or brown, may be more at risk. My second point: be clear about the skills and knowledge the business is going to require in the future, and be as objective as possible about who on the team has those skills. Think about getting an independent look at both what the skills and knowledge will be needed and how to assess those skills and knowledge objectively. My third point is, if you're going to cut jobs, do it strategically. To oversimplify, there are two approaches to restructuring. The first is reduce our headcount by X%, whatever X is. And then there's the let's remove the bits of our business that are not core to our future. In my experience, the drive to achieve a targeted headcount reduction often cuts out people who have vital skills, institutional knowledge, and really useful business networks. This is probably why the research consistently finds that downsizing results in worse performance down the line. A Harvard Business Review study by Michelle Zorn of US companies after the 2008 Great Recession found that those that had downsized had twice the likelihood of going bankrupt. What helped stave off that terrible outcome was not financial assets amongst the ongoing organisations, but their non-financial assets, such as institutional knowledge, what the people who remained knew. My fourth point is, look after those who are leaving. You had both an employment contract and a psychological contract with those people. They invested in helping your business just as you invested in paying them and developing them to contribute more. You called time on the employment contract. Obviously, that's your right to do so, although you might just want to check what's in your employment contracts. But you broke the psychological contract. Are you supporting them to move to another job, or are you leaving them to struggle on their own? Trust me, how you support those people will be noted by your remaining people. Which brings me to my final point. Those remaining people, sometimes termed the survivors. Are they lucky people? Well, New Zealand research indicates the remaining people are often the worst affected by the restructuring. They are vulnerable to stress, loss of engagement, and perhaps most unhelpful of all, loss in trust in management. The common issue is lack of clarity about what to do and what not to do, combined with pressure to perform. You could take some time to revise position descriptions, but more useful is to pull the team together and start by agreeing the ground rules for how the team will work to ensure that everyone has a voice and can expect the support of others. Then agree the team's key result areas, what they do that keeps the customers happy, and what each person's contribution to that is. Then agree what are the key performance indicators for the team. Make it clear that this is a shared enterprise. To recap, front the announcements, stay visible and emotionally engaged with all your people, those leaving and those staying. Check that your restructuring isn't landing more on groups such as the older, the younger, female or Māori. Be strategic about restructuring. Keep the functions that are needed for the future. Make sure you have the people to make that work. Support those who are leaving into their next job, and support your remaining people by providing clarity about what performance really matters. Thank you.